Bert, good to see you.
Jarrod, good to see you.
I'm excited to talk to you this week.
Yeah, man. Yeah, same. Welcome to my office.
Yeah, this is great. What a great setup in here.
Yes.
It's Shared Values Week, probably my favorite week of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Being the Compass Guardian, the name that you gave me.
Yes.
And that's landed. That's stuck. Everywhere I go, I'm called the Compass Guardian.
I was worried it would have.
No, it's stuck. It's very it stuck. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I think it's really cool Shared Values Week. It's cool that we do it. I think what we want to talk about over the next 5 days is obviously Shared Values Week is about each value, going through one each day, talking about it, really igniting it through our organization. And I think a lot, last year was really the celebration of 5 years of our shared values. And so
crazy, it's been 5 years.
It's crazy, it's been 5 years. And now we're in its 6th year, and so much has changed for us as an organization and the world around us. And I'm sure what you thought about how our values when they started to where they are now and how you see them helping our organization and how we can be a light to the world around us has changed for you. But let's just start very high level. Let's talk about the shared values, the origin, how we got there.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. There's lots of new people that have joined since 2005. Some may know the story, some may not. So just to kind of get into it, sorry if you've heard this story before, but it became CEO in 2018. We had really bad turnover. Like it was we had it was a hot mess. So it was bad turnover. And then also people weren't getting really productive and salespeople weren't growing and spread. And therefore this thing happens whenever you're a recruiter and you see your older brother or sister go before you and not get successful in sales, you're like, well, I don't want to do that. And so we weren't promoting enough. And so super fun time to become CEO. So anyway, I was talking to my executive coach one day and I was like, man, I got this big job. I got to figure this out. I don't care how we're going to turn this around. And he was like, well, what are your guys' values? And it was such a simple question, but it really took my breath away because I didn't really know how to answer that. And of course we did have values or things that we cared about or habits of work, but we didn't have those written down and we didn't know exactly what they were. And it was nobody's fault. We just that the company just kind of grew really fast and we just didn't prioritize it enough. And he was like, well, you should probably think about that. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I will. And so, like any CEO would, after that lunch, I went to Google and I started Googling company values. I was like, I'll just find these off Google. And that was not it. I was like, I don't think this is how to do this. And somebody on my team said, if we really want to activate these, then we all need to be a part of creating them. And I love that. So we came up with this trip. I love the American West. So I was like, we need to get the heck out of Atlanta and go somewhere far away and lock ourselves in a room and figure this out. So found this house in the middle of nowhere in Utah, about an hour and a half outside of Salt Lake City. And we sat around in a big circle and we tried to figure out who we wanted to be. And of course, as you know, before that, I made everybody share proudest moment in their career, darkest moment in their career. Everybody cried lots of times. It was amazing. People shared things they had maybe never shared before ever. And it was this really powerful moment all of a sudden that like, whoa, like for the first time, even though I've known you for 10 years, for the first time I really know you. And why that was so important was because the next day when we decided, okay, who do we want to be? There was like so much trust and there was so much respect for each other that we could be really honest about answering those questions. And of course, that's how we came up with those values. And we really, we wrote them out in like an hour. It was like, well, we got to be the place where everyone matters. We got to take care of each other. Well, we all started as recruiters and apart from them, leadership has to serve. And then we're like, okay, we're getting too soft. So like, what about high character and hard work? Yeah, we got to be high character and hard work above all else. And then the last one, which was great, was this, this really strong reflection point led by Emma Garber. She was like, all the times in my career, I felt like I was in my lowest when I didn't know where I stood. And so we said, okay, well, we will always be the place where you will always know where you stand. And that was it. And so we created those, but I was so nervous that they were just going to become words on a wall that I actually wrote them on a poster board there. I brought them back to my office. I folded them up and I put them behind a filing cabinet in my office for like 2 months. And I was like too afraid to share those with the company. Because once you share something that you create, I believe it's sort of no longer yours. And I was just worried it wasn't going to be taken seriously, or we weren't going to be able to live those out. I mean, it's a heck of a check to write to say this is who we're going to be and actually do it. And then finally, we just worked up the courage to be like, well, we got to do it. And so in January 2019 is when we rolled them out. And I remember thinking, the advice I was given from my executive coach, and I was like, hey, how do we make sure that these don't die? And he said, Bert, if you're not talking about the shared values enough to where you are at the point of you want to throw up in your mouth at the idea of talking about them again, then you're not talking about them enough. And so, we wrap them into how we interview, how we hire, how we train. We have the Titan trip, we've shared values week, and we've done it in a bunch of ways. So yeah, happy that now 6 years later, I feel like they're still just as strong as they were 6 years ago.
Yeah, and they are. Yeah, I mean, starting with everyone matters is a big one.
Yeah.
Just coming out and saying it, that everyone's going to matter. So what did that mean to you then when that first came out, and what was the essence of everyone matters?
So what it meant to me then, and in some ways it's changed, we can talk about that, but what it meant to me then was I felt like at the time we had just become so obsessed with kind of just the sales org, and not even the sales org, like just like our account managers. And look, if you don't have great account managers out there on the front lines, meeting with customers, bringing in business, it's going to be hard to grow. But everyone matters, right? Like everyone, has to show up if you want to have a successful company. And again, just I think over time, again, nobody's fault, but we had just become a little too focused on that, I would say, group of folks in the company. And so at the time it was, we got to remember our pro recruiters. We got to remember our folks at corporate. I want everybody to feel like they matter, because again, the inner voice I was hearing from the company at the time felt like a lot of people felt like they were just on the sidelines. They were not in the game, and I wanted to sort of bring people in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I love that. I think because in the work, working with Compass and doing that stuff with external clients, I think the one thing I know is 100% true is everyone wants to feel that they're doing something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
The work they do that they contribute to
Right.
feels bigger than themselves, and pulling everyone in, showing that your role, no matter what your role in the company is, that you matter and you're helping us become the company that we want to be. So as you said, I think it's evolved. The way I've seen it evolve is, we did a really good job with our internal employees. I've started to see it transmit to now our consultants and how we're taking care of our consultants and pulling them into this value. But love to hear from you. How do you think that's evolved? It's been 6 years now.
Yeah.
As I said, a lot has changed. What does this mean to you now?
What is funny, I mean, when you have values like this, it's like annoying. They're always there. And so you're like, you can't, and when you're like, oh yeah, we got to do something about this, because we're not, and it's outside of our values. Yeah. So we got to wrestle with that. And so, in early 2020, we were like, and really at the end of 2019, we were like, man, we are not showing enough love to our consultant population. And it's tricky because, the average duration of assignment is only about 20 weeks. And so just from that, you're going to have people that are only with you for so long just because of the nature of contract staffing business. But we were like, well, still, we got to be better for our consultants. And so in January 2020, we rolled out our consultant engagement program, and we put Brindy Pickett in charge of that. And we really didn't have much of a plan other than we just want to be better here. And so Brindy and her team have done such good work over the last 4 or 5 years or so, just every year helping us getting incrementally better at how we take care of our consultants. But what's funny is that COVID happens, and we've got the Insight Global Family Foundation, as you know, and that's our financial relief fund for anybody that finds themselves in really financial distress. And we had launched that in January of 2020, and it's raised by just money that is just people in the company that give to it. So it's not like we've got millions of dollars in this thing. And so COVID happens, and we of course, we're not going to do layoffs, but we had so many consultants impacted by this that we were like, well, if we are going to be the place where everyone matters, then we have to open up the IGFF to our 25,000 consultant population. And it was really nerve-wracking, but we set some quick fundraising goals to see if we could do that. And we hit those. And so we opened it up to them later that year. And it was really cool that now they still have access to it. And I think we've helped over 500 consultants or something like that through the IGFF. It didn't go bankrupt in the first year, which was cool. And so I think that's what that means. How Everyone Matters has also evolved now, and particularly what keeps me up at night is how we think about all of our people globally. even though we were Insight Global, we weren't global for a time.
How are we going to get there?
Yeah. And unfortunately, nobody gives you credit for Canada. Canada is awesome. I love our Canadians. I love our Canadian Cowboys. They're the best. And so whenever people be like, you're not global, I'm like, we're in Canada. And they're like, well, but you're not like overseas. So anyway, so we were always, I think we always did a pretty good job of taking care of Canada. But now, as we are in the UK and as we are in India and as we are in the Philippines, we have got, there's a lot of work that we still have to do with our technology systems, with our people systems, with how we communicate to help make sure that those people feel that they matter too, that they're not just like watching from the sidelines as 6 years ago, maybe our corporate teams were, to say, well, it looks like they're having a lot of fun, but that looks like a North American company that I'm not a part of. So, yeah, that gives me a decent amount of anxiety to make sure that we're getting that right. I don't think we are getting that right yet, but we're certainly working on it.
Yeah, I love it. I think the best thing you said there is value should be how we make decisions. Mm-hmm. And you see a lot of companies that have their values, but a lot of times the decisions they make are in constant conflict with their values. But at the center of, I think, every decision that you make or we make as an organization, it really is at the forefront of like, is this aligned to our values? And I think that's how you embed them into your culture. I think we've done a really good job of that. So last thing I'll ask you is just some advice. We have people that have been here a while. We have a bunch of new people. We have people that have come from the outside and joined our organization. How can someone go live this value of everyone matters?
For me, it's really simple. Like I moved when I was in the 6th grade to this new school. And look, middle school by itself sucks. Okay, that's the worst. But then you move in middle school and it really sucks. Nobody knows you. I remember my parents had this brown Ford van that I thought was totally fine and cool. I had TV in it. And then one day my mom was picking me up from school, and I'll never forget this. Bill Davis, another 6th grader, punk kid, he said, "Whose mom's driving the doo-doo wagon?" And I almost cried. In fact, I think I did cry. I was like, I'm terrible. This sucks. And so I go back to like that kid all the time. Like nobody wants to be left out. Nobody wants to feel like they don't belong. And while that's maybe more acute or visible in middle school, I think we still have dynamics at play like that in corporate America. People join companies all the time and they don't know people and they act like it's fine and it's cool and I can just play on my phone and not have to worry about not having a friend. But that sucks, right? You want to feel like you belong. And so what I try to do is anytime there's anybody new to the group, I want to go slow. I want to make sure that if we start talking about a story or if we start talking about this thing, I want to make sure they know, hey, do you understand what we mean when we say that? I hate it when people use acronyms more than anything because like this new person doesn't know what that means.
We have a lot.
And it drives me bananas. So I'm always trying to like go a little slow to engage the new person or the quiet person to make sure that they feel like they're brought along because nobody wants to be the kid at the end of the lunch table that nobody wants to sit next to.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, it was great talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
We'll talk tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bert.
All right, see ya.
See ya.